The waiter looked down at me and said something I wasn't expecting. "I'm sorry, ma'am. That dish isn't available." For a moment, I thought I misheard him. I looked up from my phone and gave a small, polite smile. "I pre-ordered it," I said calmly. "The lobster bisque and the filet mignon." He glanced at the tablet in his hand, tapped the screen once, then shrugged. It must not have gone through. And, just like that, he walked away. No apology. No attempt to fix it. No explanation. 10 minutes later he returned. He placed a plate in front of me. A dry turkey sandwich and a glass of water. I stared at it for a moment. Then I slowly looked around the dining room. The restaurant was the Grand Meridian, one of the most exclusive restaurants in Manhattan. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling. Soft piano music filled the air. White tablecloths stretched across every table. Around me sat 6 other guests. All men. All older. All dressed in expensive suits. And every single one of them was being served exactly what I had ordered. Lobster bisque. Filet mignon. Truffle butter. Champagne. In that moment, I realized something uncomfortable. I was the youngest person in the room. And the only woman sitting alone. My name is Danielle Brooks. I'm 29 years old, and I run a technology company valued at just over $2 billion. Most days I negotiate international acquisitions and manage teams across 3 continents. But none of that seemed to matter at table 14. To them, I was just another young woman who probably didn't belong in a place like this. I had seen that look before. The quiet assumptions. The subtle doubt. The way people glance at you and silently decide you didn't earn your seat. Normally I ignore it. But this time felt different. It wasn't just the missing meal. It was the dismissive shrug. The way he walked away before I could even respond. The way every other table was treated like royalty while I was handed a sandwich like an afterthought. So instead of arguing, I reached for my phone. And I sent a message. 3 words. Start review protocol. My assistant Adrian replied almost immediately. Which company? I typed back 1 line. Grand Meridian Hospitality. Then I placed my phone face down and quietly ate the sandwich. For the rest of the evening, the staff barely looked in my direction. They laughed with other guests, refilled wine glasses, offered elegant dessert trays. But no one returned to my table. And that was fine. Because while the restaurant staff believed the situation was over, it had only just begun. Half an hour later, Adrian sent another message. Found multiple complaints. Apparently, the waiter who served me already had several reports in his file. Guests had accused him of selective service, favoritism, dismissive behavior towards certain diners. But those complaints had never gone very far. Until now. Because what the staff didn't know, what no one in that dining room knew, was that my investment firm owned 9% of the hospitality group that operated the Grand Meridian. Not enough to run the company outright, but more than enough to demand an internal audit. By the time dessert menus were being passed around the room, Adrian had already forwarded a report to the company's executive board, along with a request for a full-service investigation. I finished the sandwich, paid the bill, and stood up to leave. Near the entrance, the restaurant manager smiled politely. "Thank you for dining with us tonight." I nodded and walked past him without saying a word. No confrontation. No raised voices. No dramatic scene. Sometimes the strongest message is delivered quietly. Later that evening in my hotel suite, Adrian sent one final update. Staff suspended. Full-service audit launched. I looked out across the city lights and thought about how small the moment had seemed. Just a missing meal. Just a careless shrug. Just another young woman being underestimated. But small moments reveal bigger problems. And sometimes the most powerful response is patience. Because the people who assumed I didn't belong in that restaurant that night had no idea who they were dismissing. And by the time they realized it, the consequences had already begun.